everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today, on this day, I have a man with me by the name of Derek Phillips. He is the founder of the Real Dads Network, which started in 2004, which goes around uplifting, promoting a positive image in the parenting experience for fathers. I just love it. I can't wait to talk to him. But first and foremost, like I always do, because my parents raised me right, I like to pause and say thank you for making time for me and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm just appreciate the fact I'm just being here and being able to talk about the work that we do at Real Dads Network.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, like I said in the opening, you started in 2004, right?
Yes.
So what void was going on in this world that Mr. Phillips said, hey, I need to start this?
Well, you know, it's when we talk about just Black fathers, one of the things with me is that when I grew up, I didn't have my father involved. And when I grew up as well, my mother died when I was 10. So, and I remember, and I'm the youngest of 4 brothers and 3 sisters. So when the night of the funeral, there was this whole conversation about who's going to take Derek, because nobody wanted to take me because I was considered this bad kid. I played hooky in the 1st grade. I played hooky in the 2nd grade, got left back in the 2nd grade. I played hooky in the 3rd. So my mother, when she was alive, she would always say, just only thing I want is for you just to go to school and graduate from high school. Please just go to school. She would beg me constantly to just go to school, but I just wouldn't go to school. Mm. So when my mother died that night before the funeral, I remember just being in my aunt's apartment and just crying, wishing that I had a father there for me. Because my father was sort of like in and out, saw him every now and then. But I made a promise to myself that night, if I ever have children, I'm going to make sure I'm there for them. So in terms of my situation, my oldest sister, who was only 26 and she had 3 kids of her own, and I'm the youngest of 4 brothers and 3 sisters, she took me along with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And we grew up in a very dysfunctional household, but that was life. But I just made this promise to myself that I would, if I ever have children, I'm going to be there for my kids. Yeah. So when I had my child, I had my first daughter, Jordan, and I was very involved with my daughter, the hair braiding, Pampers, I did everything. Then we had my second child, I was still very involved. Mm-hmm. And it really made me feel good at the time when people would see me and they would say, wow, that's a Mr. Mom. And I felt really good because I'm a Mr. Mom. But I said, no. It hit me. I'm not a Mr. Mom. Mm-hmm. I'm a Black father who is actively involved in raising his child. What happens is that when we see Black fathers, we try to call them anything else other than what they are. I'm a parent. Mm-hmm. So I said, it's not a Mr. Mom because it takes away from who I am. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what? I know for a fact that there are a lot of Black fathers who are actively involved in raising their children, but we don't know about that. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to do a documentary. So I ended up doing this documentary called Real Dads, Black Men on Fatherhood. Had commentary about the late, great Ozzie Davis. And this was the first documentary, and it was done in 2000, the first documentary ever done that focused entirely on positive Black fathers. That was the first. And I knew back then in 2000, that Black fathers were more actively involved in raising their children. I knew that for a fact back then in 2000. CDC in 2013 published a report that stated that Black fathers are more actively involved in raising their children than any other thing. Sure. But we knew that. The research clearly stated that even as way back as in the 90s, that Black fathers were actively involved. So this is part of the research in the 90s. So that's when I did the documentary. And as a result of doing the documentary, and speaking to a lot of fathers, what I realized is that fathers needed a place to go. They needed a place where they can get support, where they can get resources. Mm. And thus, in 2004, I created the Real Dads Network.
Awesome. So glad. And you mentioned one of the things that's really perplexing to me, because the research clearly states that Black fathers are more involved in the parenting process than the other fathers in the other races. And I understand why other races might want to perpetuate the stereotype that Black men are not involved. But it's very puzzling to me when I'm walking around in my own community and I see my own kind of, and I'm like, you're surrounded by Black dads. Why are we ourselves even perpetuating the stereotype when we clearly kind of see you guys floating around, like you said, changing the diapers, picking the kids up from school, but it's not, it doesn't seem to be beneficial to us as a community to continue to that stereotype. I don't.
You know what? And I'm glad you brought that up because we perpetuate it.
Mm.
One of the things that we hear a lot about in terms of the statistics, 70% of Black children are growing up with a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
We hear that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what we don't know, and what a lot of people don't do, is that sometimes they don't go deep. That in itself is true. But what it states specifically, 70% of Black children are born to unwed mothers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It just means that when the mother had the child, she was not married.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't state that the father was absent. It just says that in terms of those 70% of the times, the mother was just not married. Now, what we also know from the research, 60% of Black children are living in the same household with their father. That is in the research. That is a fact.
Awesome.
So what we try to do at Real Dads Network is to dispel the myth. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people who are doing this work around fatherhood perpetuate the myth because they approach it from a surface level. Mm. So if you're really going to do this work around fatherhood, you really have to go deep. And you can't just go by what everyone else is saying. You have to do the research. You have to go deep. So what we do at Real Dads Network is that we're going to do the research and we're going to talk about the facts.
Awesome. And also sometimes I think intentionally the data is collected incorrectly, because I know in the state of California where I had my daughter, because I didn't change my last name on the birth certificate, my daughter was counted as born out of wedlock because mother and father didn't have the same name, but that was not the case. So even in sometimes the data collection, it kind of perpetuates an incorrect image, and we have to pay attention to that as well. So we have to be consciously involved as a community in how they're gathering information on us and then spitting it back out to us, because sometimes it just gives us the wrong message about what we who we are as a group. But I want to ask you, so you started this in 2004, so we are now 17 years down the line. Do you see any differences, good or bad, in the whole fatherhood experience as time has evolved, or is it still the same, or, It
has changed in terms of, one of the things, the biggest change has been just social media. Mm. So what's happening is that with social media, you're having a lot of people now just portraying a lot of, posting a lot of pictures, telling stories to social media about Black fathers. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to see that a lot. So a lot of people are starting to tell their own narratives in regards to Black fathers, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. But there also has to be that other aspect of it, is that what's happening is that a lot of people who are actually doing work around fatherhood are not involved to a large degree in the social media aspect, so you don't really hear a lot about the work. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of people who are doing the social media postings and stuff, they don't necessarily work with fathers. Okay, so that's another thing. They don't necessarily work with fathers, they just work in the area of promoting. So they're like promoters.
I see.
So they're in the business, some of them are in the business of fatherhood, mm-hmm. which means that they'll get sponsors. They'll sponsor people products. They'll get people who would, say, okay, they'll endorse their products. So some people are really now making money off of Black fatherhood, but they're not necessarily actually working with fathers. So when you talked about child support, so when you have fathers who are really going through issues and who really need someone to talk to, they can't go to some of these fatherhood groups on social media, because they don't deal with fathers. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Got you. Understood.
So what we do at Real Dads Network is that we work with fathers. We have a Real Dads Club. Mm-hmm. We've been meeting we used to meet once a month in face-to-face, but when COVID hit, that changed it for everybody. So we've been meeting every week. Every Thursday we meet. We've been meeting. We have not missed 1 week since March of 2020. So since March of 2020, we have not missed 1 week. We have people coming in, psychiatrists, Dr. Jeff Gardea coming, talking about anxiety, depression. We had a lawyer coming in talking about child support. We have financial people coming in talking about building wealth. And we have a health people talking about what you eat, nutrition, eating right, mental health, physical health, emotional health. We have this whole support group. We have a WhatsApp group. Every morning, we're just texting in, good morning, Kings, how are you doing?
I love it.
You know, if fathers are going through issues, we have our barbershop every other Thursday where we just throw it out and we just talk about what you're going through. That's the work of fatherhood.
Okay, I got it. So let me backtrack a minute here, because I'm not a man, so I can't be a father. And I want to ask, and I like to ask, what is the difference in dynamics of being a Black father? Because a lot of times people want to just throw it all in the same bucket, and it's different. So what issues do Black fathers have to deal with, struggle with, that the rest of us need to understand?
Well, one of the biggest issues is just that living in America. So the big issue that you have is dealing with racism and understanding how racism operates. So racism, like all the other isms. So in terms of, we live in a world we live in America. America is based on what? Capitalism. So the way that capitalism functions is that it functions by having the majority on the bottom and a small elite on top. So if you don't have that, you don't have capitalism. So what you do is that you say, okay, you know what? White males, you know, systemically, we're going to keep the Black man out through racism, the Black man and women out through racism. And then when it comes to women, we're going to keep you out, sexism. And then we're going to keep another group out, classism. So that's the whole function of capitalism, survival of the fittest. So you create business. Now, one of the things that a lot of people are not aware of, you know, and in last year, I think it's last year, 2020, Frederica Wilson out in Florida, she sponsored called the social status of Black men and boys. So this bill stated that historically, the federal government has created programs and has functioned to create barriers and obstacles against Black men and boys. She sponsored the bill last year. Marco Rubio in Florida, sponsored it on the Senate side. Guess what? People don't even know this. Trump signed the bill into law last August. So we have a law. There is a law called the social status of Black men and boys. That's a law that states that in terms of this commission is looking at historically how America, the federal government, has created these obstacles and barriers that have prevented Black men and boys from succeeding. That's a law that people are not even aware of.
No, but Mitch McConnell says there's no racism because we had a Black president and we have a Black vice president. So, you know, I'm just tired of you Black people talking about racism all the time. I mean, it's not here anymore. Oh my goodness gracious.
It is crazy. You know, when you just step back and you look at what's going on and what we do, it's crazy. It's insane. And that's why it's so important that when we fight, that we fight with the information, that we know the information. That is our weapon. I'm not going to fight you based on emotions. I'm going to fight you with the information.
With the information, and that's important.
That's the power.
That's the power. You gotta have information. And like I said, you know, it's concerning to me because I see a lot of times in our community, we parrot information that is, you know, being force fed to us. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the truth. And you need to push back. You need to go find out for yourself. But, you know, I'm hoping with groups like you and my little small mouthpiece will kind of get this.
What you're doing.
We'll kind of get this shifted around some sort of way. But I want to go into what you brought up because it's a pet peeve of mine, and I'm very often the solo female in the room who feels this way, but I will take my punches as I may, and it's because I have a lot of male friends who are struggling with this, and they're from all socioeconomic walks of life, so very well off to just the struggling collar, brother. But it's just my issue of child support. And it seems like it's morphed over the years to just, I feel like children are just financial tools at this point. Do you feel like some sort of adjustments in policy should be made when it comes to child care? I mean, because I think parenting is also involvement. It's not necessarily a dollar bill coming out of a man's pocket. So am I wrong? Or, I mean,
and that's one of the things that we're pushing for in terms of just Real Dads Network, which is we're pushing to get shared parenting bill passed. Mm-hmm. Now, and I'm in New York, so in terms of the shared parenting bill, what the shared parenting bill states simply is that if a mother and father have a child and they separate, provided there are no issues of domestic violence mm-hmm. or child abuse, custody should be start at 50-50. There's only one state that has that law passed. That's Kentucky.
Kentucky
is the only state that has a shared parenting bill passed. And the reason why, and then what state are you in?
California,
every state has on the books, is that my phone? Mm-hmm. Every state has on the books a shared parenting bill. California as well mm-hmm. has a senator or assembly person who has sponsored a shared parenting bill. But what happens is that we are not aware of the bills. So in New York City, they sponsored that. Senators or assembly people have been sponsoring that for over 20 years. California as well. So the bill is there. So if you were looking for shared parenting or just, you'll find the bill in California because senators have sponsored that. There's a senator that sponsored the bill, but what happens is that they sponsor the bill and it just sits in committee and it never goes anywhere. Gotcha. Because one, a lot of people are not aware of the bill. And there was no pressure on people to actually get anything passed. So they say, oh, I'm not going to do anything because no one is telling me to do anything. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to just men, that's why we have this thing called Real Dads Vote, because you have to vote. So one of the things when it comes to politicians is that politicians say, men don't vote. So I'm not worried about them because they don't vote. So therefore, if you want to change and want to kick back, we get with a lot of men, black men especially, my vote doesn't count. It's not going to change anything. They're going to do whatever they want. And they bank on you. It's like the algorithms when you deal with social media, right? Mm-hmm. They bank on the fact that this is going to be your response. So therefore, they're going to continue going the way they're going to go because they know the response they're going to get. So therefore, I don't have to take you seriously because you don't have a strong collective. You don't vote.
Gotcha.
And we live in a society where everything is based on what? Voting policy. So in order to change policy, you have to be actively involved, engaged. So if you're not engaged, if I'm a politician, I'm like, okay, listen, I have this constituent here that's supporting me constantly. And this constituency here who talks a lot, but they don't do anything. Who are you going to support? So when it comes to policies, you're going to give it to your group. That's that's human.
Gotcha.
So, but we have, and that's what we try to do at Real Dads. This is part of the work. The work is more than posting pictures about fathers, with their kids, because we know when you do on social media, that's not real world. Mm-hmm. You may see a glimpse. You may be seeing 5%, 10% of that father's life. And we all know you're going to post the good stuff on social media. Mm-hmm. So that's what you post because it's entertainment.
Okay.
But the hard work is getting out there, voting, getting out there, changing policies, getting out there, holding people accountable. Mm-hmm. That's the work.
Okay. So we need to round up the dads because I know this past voting season, you mentioned Florida. Florida was going back and forth with the whole letting felons vote again, but encompassing that was a lot of men who were trying to restore their rights to vote, and encompassed in that was a lot of Black men who were trying to get their right to vote. And that's another avenue where they have taken your voice to speak. They have removed a lot of the right to vote from you, which kind of rolls the ball into a lot of changing social policy on that. But then that's where we're supposed to step up as the Black women in the community to be like, I can still vote. I can vote on these issues, but a lot of times we are battling each other, especially when it comes to the kids. I don't know. I just wish we would get on the same page.
You have to be on the same page, and it's really has to be a collective effort. So it's not the responsibility of the women to carry the men, and it's not the responsibility of the men to carry the women. So we have to be it's a collective effort. And then what we tell men, like when we have our Real Dads Club meetings, and we tell men, if you came here to bash women, you came to the wrong place. We don't bash women here. Because the whole thing is that it's not about the woman, it's about the child. So that's the message that we preach, is that it's about the child. At the end of the day, you have to do what you need to do to help move your child forward. Because we know when both parents are involved, the statistics are very clear, very clear. Children that have both active parents that are actively involved do extremely well. I mean, it is very clear. So what I tell people is like, okay, this is a situation. I mean, not that if you have two parents it's guaranteed, but I'm a sports person. I like basketball. And I know if I'm playing basketball and the game is on the line, and if you're a child that has two parents, maybe you're going to the foul line and you're shooting at 85%. And if you only have one parent that's really actively involved, then maybe you're only shooting at 55%, or 50%. But it's not to say that you can't make a shot with 50%, but I just like the odds of this.
It increases the odds.
It increases the odds. There's no guarantee, but I just kind of like that position. I didn't have my mother or father. I have 2 master's degree, retired assistant principal. But it's no guarantee, but I just like the percentages. And that's why when you have two parents who are actively involved, it just increases the chances of a child succeeding. And the research is clear. And that's what we have to do when we have these conversations. We have to talk about the data. We have to talk about the facts.
So where does somebody, the lay person, go to start looking up the real facts and not just what the little social media memes you see on Instagram and stuff like that? Where does somebody start to kind of unravel all of this and get the information from?
It's a lot of it is just actually reading what's being stated. And a lot of stuff you can just go, a lot of stuff is Google. And that's the other thing is right there. But we hear all this stuff, but it specifically states, even when you go through, it says 70% are to unwed mothers. So a lot of that stuff is clear, but we have also stuff on our website. We try to put information on our website. Come to the clubs, but this CDC has information, but you also got to be careful about what you get from there. You have a lot of the other, just when you can Google a lot of stuff, but just make sure you go deeper than just what's there.
Gotcha.
Look at your source.
Gotcha. So let me ask you 2 scenario questions. The first question I want to ask you is, young gentleman comes to you and says, Mr. Phillips, my wife just told me I'm about to be a dad. What advice do you have for me?
Wow, you're going to be a dad. The first thing that I tell people in terms of being a dad is that first and foremost, understand it's not about you. When you're having a child, you are making this commitment to be there for that child and the mother. So you're now part of a team. So you're no longer in the individual sport. So you move from the individual sport, now you moved into a team sport. So in order for this team to be successful, you have to be able to work as a team. So if we're in the same team and we don't have the same game plan, then it's not going to be, we're not going to win. So you have to be on the same page, and you have to have that same game plan, and you have to work together. So it's no longer about you, it's about the child.
Okay. Now, my second question, let's say young lady comes to you and says,
and even with mothers, I tell women the same thing. I tell women, even if you hate his guts, even if you hate the father's guts, and I know women, I've had this conversation, I can't stand him, I hate him, he's not seeing the child. Even if you hate his guts, at the end of the day, it is in that child's best interest to see his father. You don't have to love him, you don't have to like him, you can hate his guts, but you're hurting your child when you deny him or her from seeing the father.
That's right. I mean, as the child grows and evolves and gets to state of maturity, they will reach a point where they can make decisions for themselves, but don't make that for them when they're young. I just think that is so wrong. And I've seen so many children held hostage in these situations, and it's just so painful to watch. But let me ask you my next scenario question before we move on. So you have a young lady, she comes to you and she says, Mr. Phillips, I've been dating this guy and I have all of the stats down on what makes him a good partner for me. But what should I be looking for in a man that would give me some indicators that he's going to be a good father, not a perfect father, but a good father?
Someone that you're seeing, or are they having a child, or are they just
I'm just dating this guy. So I'm wondering if he's going to be a good father to our potential children if we have some.
Boy, I like this scenario that a friend of mine, used to be Minister Kevin Muhammad, who just passed away. He had used a scenario where he says, to test a man's temperament. So you guys tell him you guys are going to go out to dinner, and he comes to pick you up. And then you say, I can't make it. See his response. How does he respond to that situation? So that's going to test who he is as a person, because you put him in a situation. What? So is he going to respond saying, "Dad, what?" Or is he going to say, "Well, okay, well, maybe how about tomorrow, or how about next week? Maybe we'll try another day." Test his temperament.
Okay.
Because when if he responds in a certain way, that's telling you when times get hard and rough, this is the reaction you're going to get. So this is telling you a lot about who this person is.
Okay. Test his temperament. Yes. And even if she doesn't test his temperament, for sure, some children running through the house will test your temperament.
Yes.
Let me ask you, you had boy and a girl, girls, boys?
No, I have two girls. I have a 26-year-old. So my 26-year-old has a master's degree and she's working in marketing. Awesome. At Madewell. And then I have a 21-year-old who is a senior at Hampton University.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Any reflections or differences or thankfulness of having a
28 years.
Oh, awesome. Any reflections or differences on appreciation for having a girl over some boys?
Man, you know what? It's boys. We say boys are more challenging than girls. So I don't have both, so I can't really compare. But with my girls mean everything to me, so they mean everything to me. And I go crazy over just trying to do whatever I can to just make them happy and support them. So girls, I always say girls make you soft. But that's the
As they should. I'm a daughter myself.
Girls make it soft, but that's a softness I love and I appreciate. And my girls, I would say this about my girls, and it's like they are, and I don't just say this because of my girls, they are just really, really good people. They are just good people. And that's what I love about them, is that they're just good people.
Awesome. Good. So, Mr. Phillips, at Real Dads Network, you mentioned that you guys arrange or advocate for voting, and then you have the group that you do. But I also read that you guys do a book club. Did I read that right?
We have a book club. We meet once a month as well. And our book tomorrow is Bird Uncaged by Marlon Peterson. He's actually going to be in the room as well. So he's going to be part of the discussion as well. So that's going to be phenomenal. And our book club is led by phenomenal brother out in Mississippi, Jared Woods. He has an organization, you got to check him out, A Black Man Reading. He's on Instagram as well, A Black Man Reading. Jared is phenomenal. So awesome. He leads our book club.
Awesome. So anybody anywhere can connect with you and get some support system from you. They don't have to be just in New York, right? Because now we have this wonderful thing called the internet, right?
With our Real Dads Club meetings, we have dads from around the country. Not just around the country, we have dads from around the world. So we've had dad in England and Africa that have been a part of the meetings as well.
Awesome. And I also saw that you did the daddy-daughter dance.
Yes, we actually started the daddy-daughter dance. Our first daddy-daughter dance, I think it was 98? no, not 98, 2008, we've directly influenced Chicago to do a daddy-daughter dance. We directly influenced Philadelphia to do a daddy-daughter dance. We directly influenced Virginia to do a daddy-daughter dance. And we indirectly influenced several other cities and counties to do daddy-daughter dances. So we're one of the first ones to do daddy-daughter dances in terms of just publicize it outside of just New York. But there was a person in, keep forgetting his name, in Atlanta, who's really been doing, in terms of Black fathers of the daddy-daughter dances, he's been doing it longer than any. He's out in Atlanta. He's been doing it for 4 years.
Awesome, awesome. So let me ask you this: as mothers of any race that are partners in this with you, Black fathers, what can we do to help you with the work? Not just the posting the social media pictures like, oh, look what it, but what can we do to help you with the work?
The first thing is always just communication and just saying, everybody just being on the same page. If we can all agree that our children are more important than us individually. Mm-hmm. So regardless of how I feel about this person, we have to be on the same page.
Okay.
So if a woman, even if the man, and I know it's tough, he's cheated. You don't understand. He cheated on me. He was messing with, I understand. I get that. But at the end of the day, he is the father of your child. Mm-hmm. So you have to do what's in the best interest of your child. Mm-hmm. That is your child's father. So we all just have to work together and understand that regardless of what we have going on individually, it is about our child. It is about our children. So we have to work together, regardless of how we feel. We have to work together for our child.
About the children. Love it. I love it. I hope more people understand that message. I've just seen so many painful stories when couples split and, fathers just exasperated because they want to be involved. They want to see their children, but because the courts are favored towards the woman, society favors, they have the strings that they can pull, and it just gets so mentally draining for the guys. And I just feel so bad because not only the kid suffers, the fathers are suffering. It's just, I don't.
And even with the fathers also, we say to the dads as well, is that you got to also have tools in your toolbox. Mm-hmm. So you can't make the situation worse than anybody else. Remember I told you about the temperament? Remember I told you about the temperament?
Yes.
So here it is, your father, you have visitation. You go to pick up your child. And she says, no, you're not seeing your child. So what do? How do you respond? Do you sit up there and argue with her, and go back and forth? You're this, you're that, da. No, that's not going to help your situation. Mm-hmm. So you got to figure out, okay, listen, I got to figure out what tools am I using. And then even when my child is with me, I don't badmouth the mother, because at the end of the day, my child loves his mother. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to speak negatively about the mother, even if I hate her. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say your mother is bad. No, because you're talking about someone that your child loves. Mm-hmm. So you got to figure out, okay, I got to manage this situation. So what tools do I need? Because also she might be pushing your buttons when you get there. So you got to say, okay, you know what? She might say this, she might say that. So I got to respond accordingly. Mm-hmm. I have to have, what's my game plan before the game starts?
That's right.
What's my game plan before the game starts? And you have to have that game plan before you get there. And then if you get there and things are going a different way, you have to be able to pivot where you're putting yourself in a position where you can still get what you need. You don't have to constantly go into this back and forth. And even with fathers, I would tell them, when you're going to court, it is not about, when you go to court, it is not about your emotions and you as a man. It is now you have to think legally. Mm. You're not fighting her now, you're fighting the court system. And when you're going to court, you're not going in to bash her. She's not this and she's not that. No, what you're going there to say is, listen, I'm a fit father. I can take care of my child. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to do for my child. Mm-hmm. So you're not there to say, well, you don't understand what she's this. No, because the judges look at that and be like, you're this bitter person. No, don't be bitter, be better. Yeah. Prepare accordingly and say, listen, I'm here for my child. I know I can take care of my child. And this is what I'm going to do for my child. This is what I've done. It is not about the mother at that point. It's about appealing to the judge in the court.
Awesome. It's just, I feel for you guys. Yes. Well, Mr. Phillips, I have taken up 30 minutes of your time, I think a little bit more. So I'm going to
Well,
wrap
thank you
it
for
up.
having me.
I'm going to wrap it up here real quick. Let me do my random question here, and then we will let you tell everybody how they can connect with you guys. Hold on. One question here. Okay. If your partner would surprise you, what would be the ideal date for them to take you on?
Oh, the ideal date for me will be a basketball game.
Oh, okay. And New York. So New York is the favorite team?
Yeah, probably the basketball. Going to the basketball game would be nice.
I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. I used to, back in my younger days, sneak into New York for the street league game. So I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you.
Nice basketball game.
Awesome. So, Mr. Phillips, please tell us how we can connect with you and see the work that you guys are doing over there and possibly get involved. Just tell us.
You can go to our website, realdadsnetwork.org. And you can also follow us. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, just Real Dads Network.
All right, doing the work, not just posting pictures, right? Doing the work.
It's more than pictures. We have a lot of families that really need a lot of support, that really need a lot of help. So we gotta, and there's nothing wrong with posting the pictures, but we just all have to be on the same page.
Awesome. I love it. Well, from little old me in my little corner of the world, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you and everybody over there and the work that you are doing. I'm because I love my community and I love my people. I just love to see this. So thank you from little old me.
Thank you for this platform, because it's like what's important in order for this to work is that we just all, just have to say it's about us uplifting our community, it's about us uplifting our families. And we all have a part to play. If everybody does their part, no one is left carrying the whole load.
That's right. Awesome. And people don't realize, Black folks today don't realize where we came from. We were very community orientated. And it was, about the collective. We've kind of watered down over the years, but we're going to get back there. So
I believe we will.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for this evening. It's been great.
It has. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.